In this podcast episode, I'm going to explain the step number 7, prepare to negotiate your salary, of the 7-step method Fastlane to the Perfect Job I have developed to maximize the success of my coaching clients. If you haven't watched the pilot episode yet, in which I give an overview of the whole approach, I recommend watching that episode first before coming back to this one. You will find the link to it in the video description. Hello and welcome to my podcast channel. I'm Michael Kaiser. I work as an international career coach and I help managers and specialists get the job they want with a new employer abroad. Never enter salary negotiations unprepared. If you do, a lot is likely to go wrong. You may accept a great job with a dissatisfactory salary or turn down a great job offer because of the dissatisfactory salary offered, although the hiring company would have been willing to pay more if you had provided better arguments for it. Each phase of the whole negotiation process requires proper preparation. You will know what to research after understanding the goals of each phase I'm going to explain now. Before you get to anything else, however, there is one important piece of information you should determine at the very beginning, and that is your lower limit. It is essential that you have a clear idea of where your personal lower limit on the salary for accepting a new position lies before you enter into any negotiations about it. In other words, at what point you will refuse to take the job because the financial terms involved would not be satisfactory enough to you. Of course, you don't have to reveal this during the conversations, but you have to know this for yourself. If you fail to do so, you won't have any point of reference in case your negotiations take an unfavorable course. This can quickly be the case when all aspects of the offered job look very attractive, except for the salary. In this case, there is a high risk that you will accept the new position on financial terms that you will regret later and for a long time to come. The best foundation of successful salary negotiations is a common assessment system. If salary negotiations are unfruitful and unpleasant, usually at least one of the participants is not sufficiently aware of the underlying assessment systems or does not accept them. For example, it would be obvious that an employer will not necessarily recognize the candidate's family's financial needs as a relevant criterion, whereas an applicant would likely be unwilling to consider the company's budget reduction targets. To prevent running into this problem at a later stage, you should agree on using the same assessment system with the other side first. That works best if one uses neutral evaluation criteria because, in this case, the agreement of all involved is particularly likely. However, purely personal factors do not have to be excluded as long as all sides are willing to consider them too. Typical assessment systems that are easy to agree on are detailed salary reports provided by reputable independent market research companies. Some of the bigger recruitment agencies also regularly publish salary data based on their latest job market experience that is specific enough for this purpose. Moreover, there are job search engines and portals for job seekers that allow to measure specific salaries against the common range of the relevant salary subset of the job market. And in some cases, the system is provided by the government and mandatory to use, which is usually the case for jobs in the public sector. Whatever you find the most appropriate to suggest, it's very important that the assessment criteria to be applied have really been agreed between all parties before the individual arguments for a specific salary are negotiated. In most cases, this should be relatively simple if you are prepared and address the issue at the beginning. Then ask the other side if they share your view or if they want to raise objections, make changes, or suggest extensions. As soon as a common assessment system has been established for your salary negotiations, The individual arguments to influence the amount of the salary to be determined can be discussed. I deliberately said of the salary to be determined because the common assessment system makes it possible. You and your counterpart can examine the financial influence of each aspect in regard to its importance together. You should remain assertive during the negotiations and make sure that arguments in your favor have a correspondingly positive effect on the amount of your future salary. However, there are good reasons to do this only with and never against your negotiation partners. They should feel respected by you in their considerations on the subject, even if you do not always share the same viewpoint on a particular argument. Moreover, a total agreement on all possible arguments isn't necessary at all. If you, or ideally all of you, are properly prepared, the individual results will usually quickly and repeatedly point to the same ballpark figure. And of course, you can simply split the last $3,000 difference regarding your annual salary to make it easier, if all is well. The following example is going to illustrate this approach. At the beginning of the salary negotiation, you agreed with your potential new boss that both of you accept the recently published salary trends report of the large recruitment agency Robert Half as a reasonable point of reference. You are applying for the position of head of finance, and the study indicates a typical range of $100K to $130K US dollars as the national average of annual salaries for your industry. As this would be your first position as a head of a department, you do not consider the upper half of the spectrum to be relevant in your case. With reference to the outstanding credentials as a team leader in your current company and the many years of experience in the industry, you therefore propose $115K. Your counterpart is willing to follow this suggestion but argues that the cost of living in your region is about 10% lower than the national average and therefore offers you $105K. You acknowledge this and continue to explain in this context that your annual traveling expenses alone will amount to $5,000 due to your long commute without even accounting for the time spent with it. Your future boss is aware that this would probably not be any different with another candidate and is therefore willing to accept your argument. In the end, the two of you agree on an annual salary of $110,000 US dollars. Of course, there is much more to it. This podcast episode was only a crash course on the topic. If you would like to read my comprehensive guide on it, you can find the link to it in the video description. In the full version, I also explain what to do if you cannot find common ground in the beginning at all, and how to fix a situation where the actual negotiations seem to go nowhere despite all efforts. And this concludes the explanation of my 7-step method Fastlane to the Perfect Job I have developed to maximize the success of my coaching clients. It has proven itself in practice for many years now. If you follow the instructions of my method exactly, you will be successful with it too. If you would like me as a professional career coach to help you with employing this method for your job search, I'll be very happy to support you. If this is of interest to you, go to my website and click on the big button to apply for a free orientation call with me. In this call, we will analyze your current situation and needs in detail, and we will also find out how I can help you best to reach your goals fast. There is also our LinkedIn group for managers and specialists on the way to their dream job abroad, where you can network with others on this wonderful journey and receive further tips and tricks on the matter several times a week. If you're not a member yet, we hope to welcome you today. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast channel yet, now is the perfect time to do so. Make sure to also activate the bell in order not to miss out on any new episodes in the future. I'd appreciate it a lot if you leave me a like, as this helps others to discover this channel as well. And please leave me a comment with your thoughts, questions and suggestions for future episodes. That's it for today. As always, I wish you the very best for your job search abroad, and I'll be back here very soon.